All righty. That was fun. On a night, as anybody watching the post-game show just saw from the little intro that we did, thanks to Andrew Claudio. On the night, the Knicks honored Willis Reed as part of their celebration of HBCUs. It is appropriate that we get to talk about a game in which someone did something special. And we'll talk about the game as a whole and this Knicks team as a whole and what the win meant, because every win means a lot right now for where this team is at and what they're trying to accomplish. But we got to start with Dante DiVincenzo, who tonight set the Knick record with 11 made 3-pointers. It was a journey to get there, and obviously you hit 11 threes in a game. There's going to be, it comes in, it feels like it usually comes in waves. And we had a first wave in the first half when the Knicks made their big push to get way ahead in this game. Then the second wave came in the third quarter when the Knicks basically turned what was a semi-competitive ball game into a laugher, first with Jalen Brunson coming out of the gate and laying the smackdown. But then DiVincenzo getting to what we thought was 10 threes, which would have tied the record, except they took one of the 3-pointers away because it turned out that his foot was on the line. So that sent him back down to 9. And then from then on, late third quarter and then throughout the fourth quarter, it was a mission to get him. We kind of weren't sure at the time watching the game. Did they just want to get him one more to tie the record? Because it took them a while to get that one more. They were Evan Fournier, of all people, who appropriately enough held part of the previous record with 10 threes, was like face guarding DiVincenzo. Like, they did not want him to get shots off. Got off some looks that were tough, missed again, and then finally got the tying one. Had a couple of shots, I believe, at the 11th, missed them, and then there was a timeout. We thought maybe Tibbs would take him out because obviously this one was a laugher, but kept him in for a little bit longer, and he got it. He got the 11th made 3. Really special for him, and I think it's fitting that this is now going to be a record that will be held by a guy who within, I don't know, a game or two is going to be the Knicks all-time single season leader for made threes in one year in Dante DiVincenzo, and more appropriately than that, a guy who I think in a lot of ways, look, Brunson's Brunson, Josh Hart is this also, but a symbol of the Knicks' resilience this year and how, it is now going to be 2 months since Julius Randle has gone out. And for all but 3 games of that time, OG Anunoby out as well. So, like at the time that we didn't know it with the OG Anunoby injury at the time. We eventually learned the severity with the surgery and everything. But like, if you would have said to us that, like, okay, no Randle for 2 months, no OG for all but 2 games of those 2 months, or 3 games of those 2 months, and then you're still going to be without Mitchell Robinson the whole time. And someone would have been like, okay, well, the Knicks are still going to go 500 without those guys. And they're after tonight's win, they're 3 games above 500 since the Randle injury, but notably 500 if you take away the OG Anunoby games. And why do they do that? Like, yes, Jalen Brunson is an All-NBA player. He's going to finish wherever he's going to finish in the MVP ranking, and he deserves those votes. And yes, like, Josh Hart is like the heart and soul, no pun intended, of the team and does everything that's needed. And McBride is coming in and playing, seemingly, 40, 44 plus minutes every game, and Precious doing what he's doing. And Hartenstein, we'll talk about Hartenstein in a bit. He's the backbone of their defense. But like, at the end of the day, all that stuff's well and good. This is an offensive league. This is an offense-first league. It has been an offense-first league it's been, trending that way for more than a decade now. And like, the scoring numbers just keep going up and up and up and up. The freaking Boston Celtics blew a 30-point lead tonight, because this is the sort of league where you can blow a 30-point lead with how quickly things could change, which is like that sort of thing would have been inconceivable at a certain time. And it's not inconceivable. Not like we were joking about it on the playback, but watching along in this game where, it was like the lead was down to, I don't know what it was, like 25 or 24 or something. And it's like, I know the Pistons don't have anybody, but you make a couple threes, but that's the league. That's the league. And because that's the league, yes, sure, it helps to have a great defense. And the Knicks have had a great defense at times, right, this year, and they have a great defense right now. But like, you're not going to be able to stop everyone all the time. Guys are going to make shots. Teams are going to put pressure on you on the offensive end, and you need to have somebody that allows you to punch back. And Jalen Brunson, for as magnificent as he is, cannot do it by himself with Julius Randle sideline and certainly with OG sideline as well, because nobody could do it by themselves. There's not a player in the league that could lead a team to wins by themselves if they are the only offensive force on the roster on the rotation that brings any gravity. And Dante DiVincenzo shooting this season brings exactly that. It brings gravity. It bends. The defense must pay attention to him at all times, no matter where he is. If he's flying around a screen or whatever the situation may be, he needs a sliver of space. He has extended their range. He shoots deep threes. He's been a game changer for them. And on top of all that, he is, and I say this as someone I had an article today for the Knicks Film School newsletter about what an amazing value Deuce McBride's contract is, and it is a great value. But Dante DiVincenzo, to have that guy at a contract that is below the non-taxpayer mid-level, which, yeah, it averages $12 million a year, I think, or whatever it is, and that sounds like a lot of money. Like, go look at, you could go on Hoops Hype, and sort, go through their players, sort them by their salary this year, sort them by their salary next year, and then like look at basically all of the guys, not rookie contracts aside, because rookie contracts are rookie contracts. That's a set salary scale. Non-rookie contracts, look through the league at basically anyone making under $20 million a year, maybe $19 million a year. You're not going to find the more impactful player than Dante DiVincenzo. And that is because meaningful shooting, hashtag meaningful shooting, means so much today in the NBA. And, you saw that tonight. We've seen it all season with Devo. Don't want to think about where the Knicks would be without him. I'm sure the Knicks don't want to think about where they would be without him. I know Tom Thibodeau doesn't want to think about where the Knicks would be without him. And this is all from a guy who started the year coming off the bench, playing like 16, 17, 18 minutes a game. A guy who maybe other people may have anticipated that he was going to be a starter. I didn't. I was like, okay, Quentin Grimes season, let's go. So super, super happy for DiVincenzo tonight. He deserves it, and it's cool to see. Last thing I'm going to say is it's cool to see his career get to this point because, and I talked about it a little bit at the end of the playback, he was on a certain track through 3 years in Milwaukee, and then he got an injury at the end of his third season in Milwaukee, and it completely derailed his career for essentially an entire season, where the next season he wasn't right, and then he went to Sacramento and he wasn't really right in Sacramento, and then he needed to start building it back up in Golden State, and he did. And now here we are. So great stuff from Dante DiVincenzo. But there are no shortage of heroes tonight, and look, they're undermanned, and I know it's against the Pistons. But I'm sitting here looking at a Spurs team with no Victor Wembanyama that is up 4 on the Phoenix Suns, who need wins here with 3 minutes left to go in this game. I know I sound like the freaking head coach, but any team on any given night, again, I referenced the Hawks comeback. Turn on any league pass night. Turn on, you'll see someone beating somebody else. We're like, how is that happening? So you need heroes, and the Knicks got some nice heroic performances tonight. After Devo, where do I want to go? Could go Josh Hart triple-double. 14 rebounds from him. Not his best game, but, it was good to see him energized. Not his best game. He got a triple-double, 6 triple-double of the season, all since January 1st, and only 2 behind Clyde for the all-time lead in terms of most triple-doubles in a single season. I thought I'm going to actually save Hardenstein for last. Brunson, quiet 28 on 20 shots. I mentioned that he kind of set the tone to the start of the third quarter, but not like a great shot-making night from him. Still ended up with 28, which was great to see. Deuce, the shot came back down to earth a little bit tonight. Only 1 of 7 from deep, but you felt him. You felt him every minute he was on the floor. There was that great possession in the it was at the beginning of the second quarter where he had a deflection into the backcourt because he was hounding whoever that poor man was. And then, whoever it was gathered the ball, got it back, drove, Deuce stole it, and then off to the races the Knicks went. And there's just plays like that from Deuce all the time. Threw the ball off Malachi Flynn's ass, caught it for a layup. That was fun. So good stuff from Deuce. Precious Achiuwa, 16 rebounds in 26 minutes. That dog will hunt. And Bogey, let's give a slightest tip of the cap to Bogey. 13 points on 5 of 11 shooting. We'll take it. Kindly ignore the return. How many turnovers did he end up with? Oh, only 2 turnovers. He had. I think they took one away from him during the game. And then the guy I want to end with is Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Hartenstein only played 24 minutes in this game, but Fred tweeted about this. Fred Katz of The Athletic played 16 minutes in the first half, which got to double check, but pretty sure that's the most minutes he's played in a half since coming back from his I don't know what you want to call it, since he first started the Achilles issues first started popping up. And he looked comfortable. He looked spry. He was the foundation of their defense tonight. DJ Zulo, who did the playback with us tonight, made the point that the Pistons were trying to get stuff going at the rim, and then Hartenstein was just there every time, and eventually the Pistons just said, "Fuck it, we're not going into the paint anymore. We're not trying anything around the rim," and that's because of Hartenstein. He is absolutely the foundation of their defense. I thought for a while he would maybe have a chance at a triple-double tonight. Didn't quite get there, but ended up with 3 blocks, a steal, 5 assists. You love his passing. As a team, I thought the Knicks passed it really well tonight. 30 assists on 45 made field goals. That's very nice. It's all good stuff on a night when this, they have enough to do this against the Pistons. And they did it. And now they got 2 more games coming up against more competition that, again, they quote unquote should beat. And again, I say that as I'm looking at a Wemby-less Spurs team, given Phoenix everything they could handle down the stretch here. So look, none of it, we'll see who plays for Toronto when we face them on Wednesday. RJ and Quickly are back with the team. I don't know. I think you could argue that they're not going to have. Well, I don't think it's an argument. They're not going to have anything close to this easy of a game, I don't think, for the rest of the season, barring somebody they play unexpectedly sitting everybody. So every win is important. This gets them that much closer to securing a top 6 seed. The Pacers have a game tonight against the Clippers. They're currently in 6. Hopefully they lose that. And then we'll see. Can the march to third place or the third spot in the playoffs continue? That's where all eyes will continue to be until we have reason not to think that is a possibility. And on that note, I'm going to welcome Mr. Andrew Claudio to the stage. Hello, sir.
Hi, John. How are you? That was a fun basketball game.
That was a fun basketball game. I think the Knicks needed a game like that.
They did. It's been a lot of close games. We were at the watch party on Saturday and at T-Squared Social. More on that in just a second. And we saw how tough the Nets played them through 3 quarters. and it's felt as if the toll of having so many guys out has really weighed on them, and they needed a laugher. They needed a game that was really not close from the 5th minute in. While many of our players are on the road to recovery. Speaking of the road to recovery, introducing a new segment, the Road to Recovery, presented by Unified Healing. So 2 things I have to do right now. First of all, if you're interested in learning more about Unified Healing, go to unifiedhealing.com to learn more and find a center near you, as well as learn about the EE system. That's the Energy Enhanced System. And for the first time, I'm going to put a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen and let you read that. Not you, John, like anybody watching, read that.
Oh, please don't make me read it.
I'm not reading because it's very long. That's what someone said. But there's a disclaimer at the bottom if you're that Unified wants to make sure you hear. But shout out to Unified, who'll be our sponsor for our injury segment for the rest of the season. What was the news we got before the game, Jonathan? About the three gentlemen that have been missing, as well as Alec Burks, who was out tonight.
So let me see if I can do this off the old dome. So I guess first things first, it seems as if Mitchell Robinson will be the first of the 3 injured Knick big men to make his way back to the court. Tom Thibodeau, in ways that only Tom Thibodeau can, all but said as much before the game. And when will that be? I don't know. Maybe he plays against Toronto. Maybe he plays against San Antonio. Maybe they hold him out until OKC. But it seems like Mitch is going to be the closest. As for the other 2, OG Anunoby did some shooting during the Knicks morning workout. I'm reading from an Ian Begley tweet. So positive step towards return to the court. Thibodeau did say that the irritation in Anunoby's elbow still needs to, I think, calm down. Every time Tibbs talks about Anunoby's elbow needing to calm down, I think about like an unruly student who's causing problems in the class and needs to be like sent into the hallway to think about what they've done. That's Anunoby's elbow. But detention. But he cleared to shoot is a significant step because that is what he was given. That was given him problems. His shot form because of the elbow. And then as far as Julius, I think feeling good, doing controlled contact, still no live contact, but also Tibbs noted that there hasn't been a setback. I think the most mysterious one is actually, I don't know. Is it Randall? Is it OG? You could probably flip a coin for either of those 2. But I think we're all wondering, like, if Randall if they had a playoff game tomorrow, could Randall step on the court? Like, would they chance it? Like, could he? I don't know. We'll see. But that's our road to recovery, presented by Unified.
Yes. I thought you presented the best possible theory with Randall on the show yesterday with Jeremy, that they feel they've got one shot at this and they're not going to bring him back too soon. And they're going to wait as far as possible. You're reacting to something on your screen. What might that be, John Macri?
I'm reacting to the Victor Wembanyama-less San Antonio Spurs beating, I think it seemed like it came down to the last play of the game. The Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal led Phoenix Suns. Can we go back and expunge the Patreon episode from before the season where I took the Suns over?
Yeah. We got a How You Feeling rankings coming pretty soon. Or How You Doing rankings coming on Patreon pretty soon. So people are going to... How you feeling about the Phoenix Suns at the moment? I'm sure that's going to come back to bite us.
Who don't have a draft pick of their own until, I don't know, Armageddon.
And the Knicks, who have all the picks and then some, have a better record than the Phoenix Suns. 43 and 28, the New York Knicks. Speaking of the out-of-town scoreboard that you just looked at, John, our second sponsored segment today is the Out-of-Town Scores presented by T-Squared Social, the new home of Knicks Film School watch parties. Get a free draft beer when you tell them KFS sent you. So if you want to go to T-Squared Social, they're located on 42nd Street, 7 East 42nd Street. walking distance, 2 blocks away from Grand Central, quite literally on the same block as the 42nd Street entrance of Grand Central, just a block away, maybe 2 blocks away from Grand Central. The latest games that you want to go to, watch Knicks games there, watch Rangers games. They're on a path or in a fight right now in the NHL for the President's Trophy. The opening day, Mets and Yankees start on Thursday. So the number one place to be is T-Squared Social. March Madness, I didn't even mention the big tournament going on right now, men's and women's at the moment. All the place to be is at T-Squared Social. They got the biggest big screen TV in New York City. So obviously the Knicks watch parties as well.
You can play golf there.
You can play. John and I partook
in the bar
in the golf simulator on Saturday.
I had a great time doing that.
You got duck pin bowling. You could
Speaking of things I want to expunge from the record, any video footage of my golf swing. Oh my God.
Haven't posted it yet. Yes. But the out of town scoreboard presented by T-Squared Social, John.
Okay. Here's what's gone final already tonight. So the most important one as far as the Knicks are concerned, Cavs, Hornets kept it close for a while, but Cavs end up winning by 23 over the Hornets in Cleveland. They will have another game against the Hornets. This one in Charlotte, I believe in 2 days. So Cavs stay a half game up in the win, or a game up in the win column, half game up on the Knicks for third place. Other scores, I mentioned the Hawks' big comeback. The Hawks were down by 30 in the first half to Boston, and Boston let them back in the game. Seemed like they were going to take control late third, early fourth quarter. Hawks made another push and pulled it out. The Nets beat the Raptors, who are still missing a lot of guys. We'll see if they will have anybody back by the time the Knicks play them. I believe the Raptors have lost like 10 games in a row, something like that. They've lost a lot of games in a row. It has not been going great for Toronto lately. The Rockets, speaking of streaks, let me just confirm this. That is 10 in a row for the Houston Rockets. That is freaking wild. They beat the Portland Trailblazers tonight. Yes, I know it has been 11 in a row for Toronto, by the way. I know it's been easy-ish schedule for the Rockets, but still incredible stuff by them to make this now a real race for the 10th spot the last spot in the play-in race, with Golden State kind of falling apart. And I mentioned the Spurs beating the Suns. Again, can't take any game for granted. And then of note, later, actually, Kings Sixers has already started. Kings up early, 13-5. Again, Knicks are just step one, secure a playoff spot, and then go from there. And then Pacers Clippers is coming 10:30 tonight. And Nuggets blowing out the Grizzlies. Jazz Mavs is close in the third. And then Wizards Bulls is coming down to the final seconds right now.
There you go. We will do another out of town scoreboard at the end of the show to hopefully recap most of the night. But again, T-Squared Social, the one in New York City on 42nd Street, 7 East 42nd Street. Get a free draft beer when you tell them Knicks Film School sent you. And on that note, John, let us get to the Super Chats.
Giddy up. All right. Starting off, Zip Davis. What's going on, Zip? How you doing, man? KFS breaks the curse, and then Dante breaks the franchise record. I see what you did there. I like it. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah. That was a good year. I tried. Yeah, man. It's that was a fun day on Saturday. It was really cool to see. It's great to see Dante do what he did for all the reasons I spoke about earlier. And it's nice to see this Knicks team. I think the reason why the vibes are very good right now is we've had good stretches of Knicks basketball this season. I think they had a good stretch before the trade, certainly to kind of get after the 2-4 start, to get the wheels in motion. We had January, leading into early February, and now we have this stretch, which is just taking a quick look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7, 8 out of 10. That's pretty good. That's pretty good with all the guys that they're missing. So the vibes are good. Thanks, Zip. Bernard Richardson, what's going on, Bernard? How you doing, man? Yeah, cool. He breaks the record. But what else does he even bring to the table? Listen, if you know, you know. That might have been the super chat of the year. Maybe. it's either that or at least we have our draft pick, which I actually frankly can't remember if it was the same person.
It was
So
not. One was from good friend and patron Joey Dugan, who has since owned it. His dooming during the downstretch, and I believe the other one was Tingus Pingus.
Which may have been that's this one, right? What else?
Tingus Pingus is the what else does DiVincenzo do?
I think I still am not sure that wasn't like a joke. But
I, from the rest of the tweet, think he was serious. But I also, if I remember right, and there's like two guys that contribute a lot on the post game, so I don't want to fully destroy them. We thank you. You may have rectified that, and I'm really hoping we hear from you tonight, Tingus. But yeah, that was the clarification.
To bring it back to basketball for a second, if you shoot it like DiVincenzo and you can survive defensively, forget about the I think he's a plus defensively. If you could just stay on the court, like that's what you're asking from the Sam Hausers and the Sam Merrills. What are they both named Sam? I don't know if I never realized that before. And the back in the day, like your Kyle Korvers, all of these guys, you're just asking them to survive defensively. Can you survive defensively? Because if you could survive defensively and then all you do is bring that sort of shooting gravity, then that's it. You've done your job, especially at the price point that they have DiVincenzo at. Thanks, Bernard. Rob DeLuseman, what's going on, Rob? What's up, JM and our man Andrew? Can Traint cannot wait to see what this team looks like at full strength. Much love and respect to the KFS fam. Yeah. I feel like we've been saying some version of that for 2 months because we saw it, right? You know what the difference is, though? And it's funny. I don't know that I've verbalized this at any point, but I'm just thinking about it now. Even when the January stretch was going on and the Knicks were running roughshod over the rest of the league, there was still a sense and shout out to Fred Katz, who wrote an article today about the Knicks' continued struggles offensively anytime Jalen Brunson steps foot off the court, which is something I've written about in my newsletter. Like it's a thing. Even then during January, we were kind of saying yes, but wait until we still have the trade deadline, and we're going to get a backup point guard, and then it's going to complete the puzzle because these minutes where the team doesn't look like it knows what the hell it's doing when Brunson's off the floor are going to get better. They made the trade with Detroit. Obviously, the trade with Detroit has not worked out as anybody would have liked. That said, I'm going to say, and I know this is not yet backed up by the numbers, but I think Deuce McBride is just a flat out better basketball player today than he was in January. Maybe not better, but he's performing better, and I trust him a little bit more. I know I'm the last man on this island. I still want to see what Bogey looks like alongside Randall. I don't know if we're ever going to get to see it, but I would love to see that combo together. But yeah, I want to see it back with what it looked like. And then the obvious other piece is Mitchell Robinson, right? Because the answer to how are the Knicks going to survive offensively or just survive, period, with Jalen Brunson off the court may just be stop everybody, don't give up any points, and have Mitchell Robinson just completely own the offensive glass. But we'll see. I'm getting far foul, but yes, want to see them fully healthy. And even if again, that question that we had in January still does kind of exist. Thanks, Rob. Busy, what's going on, Busy? It's sad when Evan Fournier is the guy you put on the scorching hot shooter. That was something, man. That was something, and I want to read a quote. And I think who had this? I think New York Basketball's Twitter account retweeted whoever said this initially, but Monty Williams like was asked about DiVincenzo and like just didn't had no interest in having any part of that conversation. Was like, I don't want to talk about their guys. I can't, like what they did tonight, getting up all those threes. Like he was just sick. He was sick to his stomach, and he should be sick to his stomach because and he should be sick to his stomach in part because like this is his doing, like he was brought in to clean up this organization, and he has failed. What has he instilled? Like you look at what Ime Udoka has done in Houston. They lost a guy who was like a borderline all-star, and they just like they played the best basketball of the season. Like we saw what Tibbs did with this franchise 4 years ago. Like Monty's, it's been a failure. Like that whole organization needs to look itself in the mirror and then probably fire themselves. Thanks, Busy. Sam Garcia's dad. What's going on, Sam? How are you? Or Sam Garcia's dad, Ray. Maybe, just maybe, the Knicks already have their 1A superstar and their 1B and their 1C. I'd like to see them all in the lineup together, but maybe we got all we need right now. So this reminds me of something I said towards the end of the game, or maybe it was even after the game. No, it was towards the end of the game, which is Dante DiVincenzo at this point now, since the injuries, this is now a 2-month stretch where he is averaging 20 points a game on, like, given the degree of difficulty of the threes he's taking, his efficiency is good. Like, it's solid efficiency. I want to see what it looks like now when Julius comes back, because I'm not going to sit here and say you're nuts. I can't sit here and say you're nuts. When you have DiVincenzo able to do the things that DiVincenzo's doing, and you have Hartenstein, who is defending, I mean, he's at worst, he's a top 5 defensive center in the sport. And at worst, the numbers say he's better than that. At worst, he's top 5. That's not even a conversation anymore. But using him as an offensive hub, and being able to really diversify your offense. So now you're adding in that piece to the starting lineup with the DiVincenzo piece to the starting lineup. And oh, by the way, OG Anunoby doing all the things that OG Anunoby does, spacing from the corner, being able to put the ball on the floor a little bit, like we've seen him kind of dabble in this season since the trade. And now you re-inject Randall into that ecosystem. I'm not going to say, like, can you make it work? Because that implies that, like, Randall is this, like, ISO heavy guy, and the second he comes back, it's going to be ball hogging and, like, dribble. Like, no. They will be good. They will be very good. Can it elevate to that level of basketball nirvana where the whole truly is greater than the sum of its parts? And when you see it. But you need both things. You need the talent, and you need the simpatico, right? The where it's it starts with unselfishness. And that's the one thing I will say and the reason I have confidence is, yeah, Brunson's a 1A superstar. He is not a selfish player. And you know how I know he's not a selfish player? Because Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, partially because they're his friends, but, like, they joke all the time about, like, if Jalen passed, Devo said it tonight, if Jalen passed the ball more, I would have had more. Like, Jalen wants to make the right play. DiVincenzo just wants to make the right play. Hartenstein just wants to make the right play. And I think Randall just wants to make the right play. I really genuinely don't care. I don't think he cares about numbers. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. We'll see how it looks. I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. Thanks, Ray. I'll read Kevin's comment and then I'll go back to this. Hey, John, Kevin Danishevsky says, thought it would be an appropriate night to discuss this. What do you think DiVincenzo's ceiling is? Third option on a championship team, ? I mean, the question is he Clay? Right? Like, we always throw around the Clay comp. It was ridiculous in retrospect. Blaming you, Kevin, for Grimes. DiVincenzo will never be the defender that Klay Thompson was in his prime. Klay Thompson was like an All-NBA, a borderline All-NBA caliber defender because he had the size. Like, DiVincenzo doesn't have that size, but he plays big. He's smart. He tries his ass off. So, like, defensively, at best, it's always going to be Klay light. But offensively, like, yeah, is it unfair to toss? Because, like, if you're talking about this archetype being the third best player on a championship team, like, the list it's Klay, it's Ray Allen with the Celtics. I mean, shit, how many more examples do you have? Like, modern examples. Like, I'm only talking about like the last 20 years. I'm trying to think about maybe like who's the third, like, no, I was thinking about that, or the Heat team that Shaq won with. Like, maybe I'm missing another one or two. Like Jason Terry brought more to the table than this to that Mavs team. Yeah, I think it's like that's kind of the list. And those are one of those guys is one of the 75 greatest players of all time, and another guy had an argument to be one of the 75 greatest players of all time. So, like, it's not fair to put DiVincenzo in that conversation. But if you're saying, like, is that his ceiling, then you're basically saying, can he be that on the offensive end of the floor? I don't know, man. With how he's shooting threes, with the degree of difficulty, with the amount of attention that defenses give to him, with how he has absolutely zero problem putting the ball on the floor and putting the ball on the floor to score. That's, which was always the complaint about Grimes. Put the ball on the floor to score, and he could score in a variety of ways when he puts the ball on the floor. He's got a little bit of a mid-range game. He's been finishing better around the basket. He could make a pass, obviously, if he needs to. He could see, he's played some point guard. Like, it's all kind of there. And the last thing I'll say for anybody listening to this and being like, Macri, you sound like an idiot comparing a guy who, like, wasn't even a starter at the beginning of this year to, again, trying to even put them in the same breath as two of the greatest players who ever lived. Like, I'm looking it up right now. 3-pointers made this season. This is on a per game basis. Dante DiVincenzo is 7th in the league, below CJ McCollum, Klay Thompson, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Simons, Luka Doncic, and Steph Curry, who's in a category of his own. DiVincenzo at 40%. The only other guys above 40% are McCollum, and he's played in 15 fewer games than DiVincenzo, and, of course, Curry. And then if you look at total threes this season, has this updated? I think this updated tonight. Yeah. Steph Curry, again, he changed the sport. He's in a class of his own. 312 made threes. Second, Luka Doncic might finish third in MVP with 238 and trailing Luka by 4 threes. 4. Dante DiVincenzo, 234 at a 40% clip. After that, Klay, Paul George, Jason Tatum, Bogdan Bogdanovic in Atlanta, who's quietly had a great season, Damian Lillard, Buddy Hield. Like, these are the best of the best when it comes to not only three-point shooters, but some of these names are some of the best players in the sport. And that's the company he's in right now. So I don't know, man. I feel like we need to have the conversation, right, about where this goes to and what the ceiling is, which is a really exciting place to be, especially when you consider what they got this guy for and what they're paying him for the next 3 years after this one. So, yeah, good stuff all around. Thanks, Kev. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? Two, not one, but two challenges Tom Thibodeau won tonight. I think that's a first, right? There might have been a record. There might have been a record broken, but my guess is those two moves got the biggest cheers in the Macri household. Hashtag fire tips. Yeah. Now, listen, he is, I don't know if anybody's going to bring up the minute, how many minutes the guys played tonight in this game. They are what they are because of him. In every sense. He is one of one. And I couldn't help but think about him after the Warriors, as the Warriors just continue to disintegrate and are actively wasting maybe the last year of Steph Curry's prime. Steve Kerr being asked after the game or about Steph's minutes, and I think he only played 5 or 6 minutes in the fourth quarter of their last game, which they lost to the Pacers. I think it was to the Pacers, right? Yeah. Or maybe I'm thinking of another, whatever. They've lost a lot of games recently. But and Curry is holding the line. He's not overplaying Curry. And I think of our coach who has a different. Now, in fairness, we were sitting here complaining about Jalen Brunson coming back into the game in the fourth quarter of what was a blowout. Brunson played 30 minutes tonight, which is nothing. And more importantly, Jalen Brunson is 27 years old. Steph Curry is 35. But I just couldn't help, but kind of laugh at it. It's listen, there's different mentalities to coaching. This coach, forget winning every game. He wants to win every possession. Every possession is just, it is life or death. And if you don't treat it that way, you're not going to play basketball for the Knicks, that's a gift and a curse. And I obviously side more with the gift part of it, but man, that dude is one of one. Ain't nobody else out there like Tibbs. Thanks, Juno. Charlie Boy third. What's going on, Charlie Boy? Hey, John, I was one of the guys that didn't want to start DiVincenzo over Quentin Grimes. I didn't, honestly, I don't know that I could say that I didn't want to. I just didn't think it was going to be a thing. I was Quentin Grimes is the starter. DiVincenzo, they signed him to the mid-level. What questions I was asking? I was asking questions before the season, man, who's going to get the short end of the stick in the rotation? Who are we going to be looking at, in games when they're fully healthy? I'm oh, so-and-so only played 14 minutes tonight, and I was is it DiVincenzo? And there were some games early in the season where he did not play all that many minutes. So, yeah. Anyway, yikes. Keep saying I love this team. Everyone contributes. Hope adding back in the big guys doesn't slow down what we got going on. Listen, they need those guys, and I think you saw it tonight. And I think you saw it in the last couple of games. Jalen Brunson, again, shout out to DJ Zulo, who said it at the end of the live stream. There was a stretch during, at one point in the Nets game, Brunson was something his 10 for his last 30 something or whatever. I'm not sitting here saying he can't do it, but asking him to take just all of these shots are hard. Unless it's a three where the defense is in rotation and he ends up with an open-ish look from three. Every shot this fucking guy takes is a hard shot. Every shot, because the defense, it doesn't matter how many freaking threes Dante DiVincenzo hits. They're keying in on Brunson at all times. So they need, and this is where we get back to the conversation about who's more valuable to them? Is it OG Anunoby or is it Julius Randle? And I've said, and others have shared this opinion, that it's OG because he's an easier fit, right? You just slot him in defensively. We know what he does defensively. He spaces the floor on offense. You have Brunson doing his thing, and then you have DiVincenzo as your number two, and you could run that 2-man game and you throw in Hardenstein and the whole thing. I don't know, man. Seeing Brunson now at this point in what has been a long season, he hit his All-NBA criteria tonight, 65 games. I think you could make a good argument that it's Randle. But the point is, they need help if this team is going to reach its ceiling, which is, we know what the ceiling is. I'm not even saying like they can't win a playoff series with this version, but if they're gonna like beat a big boy, they need their guys back. They need their guys back. So great comment, Charlie Worth Road. But like I'm not worried about that. I want to get them back, and then we'll worry about that when it happens. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? Great to hear from you. I really thought Grimes would be the guy to break the record. Another Grimes comment. How about this? This is funny. I was really wrong about the breakout and have to own up. Great. Dom, by the way, I don't know if you knew this. It's 2024. You're not allowed to own. You're not allowed to, if like owning a bad take is like you're excommunicated from society. We don't do that anymore. I think, what is the new rule? We either pretend that the bad take doesn't exist or like, I don't know. I'm making a joke. I appreciate the fact that you're like saying like, hey, I made a mistake. You know who else made a mistake? This guy right here, because I was in the same boat. I thought it was a Grimes breakout season coming. I was higher on Grimes than anybody on this team in terms of guys that were going to come in here and make a big improvement. Anyway, I'll finish reading your comment. Great game, Devo. I'm so happy you're a Knick. Good defense, Evan. But yeah, man, like, look, that's why they play the games. And things don't always go as you expect. Things may not go necessarily the way you want, but they were very smart to sign this player. And Jesus Christ, you talk about, how about this? I'm gonna get. Let me give you a little like, don't feel bad about yourself, because the take that you had that like Grimes was going to come in here and like be like grab the starting 2-guard position and make himself like this indispensable 2-way player who was going to play 30 plus minutes a night and the whole thing. Like, that was a reasonable take. And do you know why it was a reasonable take? Because we had 2 years worth of evidence where he was kind of progressing towards this point, culminating in a playoff series last year in the Heat where his head coach didn't want to take him off the floor. They do all 48 minutes in a game. So like, there was evidence to back up that take, which is why it's a take that turned out to be incorrect, but like it wasn't a bad take. The people who, when they signed DiVincenzo, were like, what assholes these guys are, just signing Jalen Brunson's friends because he's on the team, and like, what are we doing here? Like, you want to go down the list of shitty takes? Like, that's the take that, and you know what the funny part is? Anyone who made that take is not sitting here. I guarantee you, nobody who made that take is out there on the interwebs, as much of a disaster as they are, sitting, you know what? I said this shitty, stupid thing a while ago. I'm going to own up to that now. I was wrong. No one's doing that, because the person who makes that level of shitty take is not the person to sit here and be like, you know what? I fucked up. So credit to you, Dom. And no credit to any of those folks. Thank you for your contribution. And I think we have another one coming up from Dom. Going forward, I believe if OG travels for this small road trip, it could be telling how close he is, even if he doesn't play in the next 2 games. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, let's see if he travels. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would bet that he does not play in either of the next 2 games. And if they have already decided that they are not going to play him in either of the next 2 games because they're like, look, we have enough to beat these 2 teams, we're not going to risk it. Maybe Mitch coming back plays into that. I don't know. But then it's like, all right, well, does he need to travel with them? Well, if he did shoot around today, maybe they want him to continue to do shoot around with the team. I don't know. I'm not going to read too much into whether he travels or not myself, but like, I see where you're coming from there. For me, and I'll give credit to Jeremy, because Jeremy was like, I think he said he's at DEFCON 3 right now, and that he said if OG misses the OKC game, he would be at DEFCON 2. I don't know if I'm quite there, but I feel like the OKC game is the game where we're at this point we have to kind of circle it and be like, okay, because that's obviously a big game, and they're going to need everybody to beat the Thunder. So we'll see what happens. Thanks, Tom. Justin Richards, what's going on, Justin? John, you can't tell me that Dante isn't just the white J.R. Smith. Jesus Christ. JR is a better creator, Dante better at defense. I mean, that's the difference. JR, I mean, look, there were nights where JR would look like the best offensive player on the floor, regardless of who else was out there. Like, he could do a lot of special things. He also did a lot of really dumb things. And there were nights where, let me say this. I think the variance was a lot higher with JR. When JR was at his worst, and like his 6th man of the year campaign, we didn't see many of these games. The following year, we saw a goodly amount of them, and then it got to a point where Phil Jackson attached Iman Shumpert to just get rid of J.R. Smith's contract, and then but Cleveland, meanwhile, was like, wait a minute, we're getting J.R. The famous LeBron quote about like, because they told him like, yeah, we're getting Iman Shumpert, but we had to take JR, and LeBron's response was something to the effect of like, whoa, we get J.R. Smith? Because when he's going right, it's great, so yeah, it's greater variance because the floor, which that's the thing with Dante. Like, yeah, Dante might have an off shooting night. He's had off shooting nights this year. Even when he's not shooting it well, Dante finds other ways to help the team. And his gravity, like, is, you always have to respect his shooting gravity. Of the two, and I'm sure this will upset a great many people, of the two, I would rather have Dante DiVincenzo on my team. I'd rather the more known quantity, even with perhaps the lower ceiling. And again, I'm talking about a lower ceiling on a guy who's about to, who might finish with the second most threes in the league. So, still pretty good ceiling. Barry Craver, what's going on, Barry? How you doing, man? A guy at the gym saw me watching the game on my phone, so we started talking. He said he would sign into this chat later, so welcome. That's great. I love the fact that the Knicks are bringing gym denizens together. Because if we as a society cannot make friends at the gym, what are we doing? So Barry, hopefully you find your gym buddy. Rob with another one. And yes, JM and GMA, I'm saying it. No more Tibbs slander from me ever again. Fuck Flowers, he deserves a florist. That's a great line. And every petal thrown his way. I mean, let me say, you're giving catnip to the cat. I think he's had a really nice year. I'd be curious if he ends up on the final Coach of the Year ballot. He's not going to win it. I know the Thunder are kind of scuffling a little bit right now, but I still think it's Daigneault's to lose. I think Mosley. I'd be shocked if Mosley wasn't in the top 2 when all was said and done. After that, though, I would assume Mazzulla will get the 3rd spot. Finch may have a word to say about that. Minnesota, if Minnesota could hang on and survive the Towns injury, I would put both Mazzulla and Finch ahead of Tibbs in terms of my odds right now as to who would take that 3rd spot on the ballot after Daigneault and Mosley. And then the other guy who I feel like is just never freaking talked about is Willie Green. And Willie Green just has done, I think, an outstanding job in New Orleans where, and I misspoke. I forget if I said it on a Patreon pod or this podcast or something, but I was like, the Pelicans have had good injury luck this year. And I said it because I was like, because Zion hasn't had a big injury that's kept them out for like the whole season. But like they've had guys in and out of the lineup the whole year. They started out missing Trey Murphy III. And like Zion has missed games. Obviously, Ingram's out now. He had missed some games. McCollum's missed whatever it's been, like 15 games. Like they've had and they don't have a real true starting point guard. And yet, this team is poised to, depending on what the Clippers do tonight against Indiana, this team is poised to have home court advantage in the first round. So I think Tibbs is, for me, right, in terms of, like, again, I love the guy. But to me, he's in that second tier of, like, coach of the year candidates. But for this team, man, with what they've done and what they've sustained, I said it at the top of the show, I'll say it again. They are 3 games over 500 now since Julius Randle went down. That is wild, considering, again, OG has missed all but 3 games and Mitchell Robinson hasn't been there for any of it. Those are 3, and especially when you consider, and I know they got Precious back in the Quickly and RJ deal too, but like they traded RJ and Quickly to get OG. And so you're looking at like the original construction of the original construction of your team, and you're like Julius, Mitch, RJ, Quickly, in some order, for the most 5 important players. Whatever your order is, those are 4 of the most 5 important players, and you took away all of them. And in the Quickly and RJ case, you took away the guy that they got for them. So when you put it like that, and again, you go back in the 3 games over 500 in this stretch, that's organizational mentality, that's culture, it's all the buzzwords. And yeah, I think Tibbs has a lot to do with that. Thanks, Rob. Sam Garcia, what's going on, Sam? DiVincenzo signed for less than the full mid-level exception. LOL. Yep. Pretty good bargain. Might be the best bargain contract in the league. Putting like your all-star level players aside, because like you could sit here and argue that Jokic is the best bargain in the league, making whatever the hell he makes. Doesn't matter what he makes. You could say he's the best bargain in the league because he's the best player, and it's not even close. And like, it's a league that depends on like how good is your best player. But like in the non-superstar division, and again, non-rookie contract division, I think Devo has an argument for the best bargain contract in the league for sure. Thanks, Sam. Scott UFRX. I hope I got that right. Tough question. I feel like we've had this before. If we can get only one of the 2 back healthy, OG or Randall, who would you take? I love Randall, but for me, it's OG and the defense and the intangibles. I think I'll answer the question. First, I'm going to take the easy way out, and I'm going to say OG raises their floor, Randall raises their ceiling. Just talk it out. Let's say you don't have OG back and Randall comes back. What's your starting lineup? Your starting lineup is Hartenstein, Randall. Certainly Josh Hart, right? Because who would start? No, it's Hart. DiVincenzo and Brunson. You got 2 shooters in that lineup because everybody's going to dare Josh Hart to shoot. And everyone's going to dare Julius Randle to shoot if he's out on the perimeter. And Hartenstein is a different kind of floor spacer. He does, in a way, space the floor, but not in the traditional sense. That's a tight window there generally. And I know, like, in the Miami series, it was Hart starting in place of Grimes, but you also had Mitch starting, so it's like, and Randall was just not himself. So, like, I don't know. Could they get by with that? And then you look at it like, okay, could they get by with that on offense? I'm sure they'd score. I'm sure they'd find ways to score. But would they score consistently against a really good playoff defense? I don't know. And then defensively, Randall is Randall. Now, he would be the only quote-unquote negative defender in that. Well, Brunson's not exactly a positive, but at least Brunson is always where he needs to be, and he tries hard in the whole thing. But still, you're dealing with Brunson and Randall defensively, and then your best perimeter defender is Josh Hart, so he's kind of a little overtaxed. So I don't know. The more I talk it out, I guess my answer would still probably be OG Anunoby for the reason that we know that Brunson is capable of, even with Randall off the floor, we know that Brunson, with spacing around him, even with Josh Hart, we know that Brunson is capable of putting a team on his back and doing enough on offense to basically carry them for stretches at a time. So my answer will still be OG, but I think it's a tough conversation. Thanks, Scott. Kevin with another one. Just FYI, when I was comparing Grimes to Clay, I meant to write DiVincenzo years back. Rough typo. I'm warning you. It's part of my trade Jew for Mikal agenda. Sorry. Speaking of your trade Julius for Mikal agenda, I saw they asked Mikal Bridges about the Josh Hart's quotes, comparing him to Squidward. I never watched SpongeBob. The guy looking out the window. And Mikal was like, kind of brushed it off and was like, "Yeah, it's Josh being Josh or whatever." Man, and then the news comes. Speaking of trading Mikal, the news coming out today. Again, this is old news. Like others have kind of reported this, but kind of confirming they could have had Jalen Green and their own picks back for Mikal Bridges. Like the Rockets would have done that. Wild times for the Nets. I don't know what the hell they do this summer, man. I think they're banking on getting a big fish via trade this summer. And maybe they do. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Lot of balls in the air. Yeah.
Can we go back to the part where you never watched SpongeBob? Did I know this?
You did know this, and I know you've watched that's part of our age difference.
Okay. Your children have never watched SpongeBob?
I don't know that. Well, my youngest doesn't really know what the hell anything is. My oldest, I think, knows. Yeah, she knows what SpongeBob is. She's never watched an episode before.
Okay. So for those that may be 100 and have never seen an episode of SpongeBob, in John's category, no disrespect, I'm just going to put this on the screen. This is the meme Josh Hart was referring to.
It's and that's looking Squidward, out the window. SpongeBob, and then the pink starfish guy. I have no idea what his name is.
Oh my gosh, it's Patrick. Patrick Star. He goes by Patrick Star. Do you know SpongeBob's last name?
SquarePants.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, I knew. I'm not a freaking moron.
I listen. You didn't know Patrick's last name, and it was literally Star.
Well, I have you here. Can I go fill my water cup up in about 10 seconds?
Sure. I'm going to read a Monty Williams quote for everybody while John does that, because there's apparently some Dune spice salt in the post-game reaction from Arrakis spice, I believe is the exact name. I'm totally blanking on what the names of that movie are. Monty Williams, a quote after the game today as John returns. So John.
Yes, I saw the Monty quote and I saw the Hart response.
So Monty Williams didn't want to talk about Dante DiVincenzo. He said,
I referenced this earlier. I think you were up out of your seat.
Okay, but did you read the quote?
No, but I referenced it. But read the quote.
The exact quote was, "I don't care about their team. I couldn't care less. Those guys, the way they got those threes, I don't want to be a part of that story." Josh Hart, in response to said quote, when Fred Katz told him about it, if he didn't want to be part of the story, he should have told his guys to defend better.
It's a great quote. I'm happy he made it with we don't have to play the Pistons again this season, because you never know. You
Which
don't
guy?
Give anybody bulletin board material. You respect the opponent, Andrew. You respect the opponent. Doesn't matter who it is. Even if the opponent is coached by Monty Williams, you respect the opponent. Isn't Monty's friends with Tibbs too, right? Didn't they coach together on Team USA a few years back?
Sure. Maybe.
I think they did. Anyway, all right.
I think Monty can look in the mirror as to why the Piston seasons might have gone a certain direction. So I will send as much disrespect as possible to my opponent tonight.
It's so funny that they're going to be like probably just good enough to not get a top pick in next year's draft, which is like supposed to be really awesome.
No. Don't doubt Monty Williams' ability to keep them as a bottom 5 team, John.
That's very. Hey, listen, man, I'm rooting for the Pistons to be just good enough to suck, just to limit their suckage.
I see where you're going with this. Yes.
Yeah,
because we have their pick in 2025, and it's top 12 protected.
The protections go down. I think there's a great chance we end up with the pick, but it goes down to top 8 in I think 2027. I don't. Spoiler alert: we're not going to hang on to that pick for long enough to actually make it. I don't think. I'd be surprised if we did.
By the way, friend of the pod and longtime Knicks beat writer that has turned into Florida man, Mark Berman, was Old Takes exposed tonight. Do you know what that means?
What? Yeah, I guess I know what that means.
Okay,
I've probably been Old Takes exposed.
Maybe. This is the tweet from Mark Berman.
Oh, I see it.
On July 3rd, 2023. He said this is the day that the Knicks traded Obi Toppin and then later signed Dante DiVincenzo. I remember it well. I was doing a lot of wedding planning that day, and the Knicks chose that day to make us do 2 emergency live streams. Dante DiVincenzo has averaged 54 games in his 5 seasons. Obi Toppin is more durable and possibly more valuable as a backup power forward than another shooting guard. With no first-round picks to cultivate from the last 2 drafts, the Knicks have only gotten worse. Happy July 4th week.
I feel responsible. I feel some modicum of responsibility to at least vocalize from the day Mark Berman stepped down from this beat, his total and complete modus operandi, on Twitter at least, is to say the thing that he thinks will get under the skin of the people running this franchise, whom he despises with a passion of 1,000 suns. And I don't know that he will ever say that publicly on record, but like, it ain't hard to read between the lines. So it is not personal. Mark Berman is a great guy. We love him here at Knicks Film School.
Are you running for office? I can't disrespect Monty Williams or Mark Berman tonight.
I will always appreciate Mark because he's a genuinely good dude. But my point is that whatever he says on Twitter, like, he's doing it for the exact like the response that it's getting. But it's
Stephen A. He's trying to get a reaction.
Yeah. The thing is, like, he needles Knicks fans with it. I don't think he dislikes Knicks fans. I think he just hates the franchise.
Well, yeah, he clickbaited us for years.
Yes.
He loves Knicks fans. He used to send out things that he knew we would click on solely for the purpose of clicking and not journalism. Shout out to Mark Berman. I hope you're enjoying retirement, and I hope you're enjoying.
He's not retired. He still writes about like tennis.
He moved to Florida. He's retired. I hope you're enjoying the warm sun of Florida and this L that you took that is now on the screen for everybody to see. Good okay. Stuff. Mark, we'll send it back to you.
Funny! What's going on, everybody? 40 boxes of ziti. Hashtag sometimes Adon does wear shorts. It's the best hashtag of the year. 40 boxes of ziti. That's good. That's good. I thought of you earlier. I think you tweeted that your boy Steve Buscemi is going to be on Curb or was on Curb. I'm shamefully behind on Curb this year, but anyway, yeah. Listen, man. Sometimes the Don wears shorts. What can you say? Great stuff. Giovanni Mistretta. Deuce is a dog. Yeah, I love. We got to give some love to some of the other Knicks tonight because a lot of guys came up big. Is there anything worse for opposing point guards than having the Knicks hit their first bucket than having the Knicks hit their first bucket than Deuce guarding 180 feet? I don't think the court is quite that long. RD is strong. Deuce sets a tone. I thought some of the clips that were making the rounds from JJ Redick's pod, in which he talked to Legs today and shouted out some like unsung heroes of the NBA season. The thing he said about Deuce was spot on, which is like what you're getting with the energy and the defense, that's enough because it's so palpable when he steps onto the floor. And like, at least, this is just me, I kind of wondered, like, well, would that kind of subside because now he's in the starting lineup, so it's not quite the same. You're not getting that spark off the bench defensively. Spoiler alert, hasn't changed. It's still the same. They are a fucking pain in the ass to play with him at the starting lineup at the 1, and then Hardenstein at the 5, and then Hart and Devin. It's amazing the fact that we're talking about this defense being at this level with no OG Anunoby, who is their best defender. To say nothing of the guy that they don't have that we all talked about in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year when he went out with an injury. They really have the ability defensively to make teams hurt, to inflict pain on opponents. The tough part about that is when they're fully healthy, their two best offensive players are not what you would call strong defenders, and that'll be part of Thibodeau's challenge in the playoffs. Is kind of mitigating that, and I just hope he has the opportunity to do so with a fully healthy roster. Thanks, Giovanni. Will Oliver, we've needed a shooter for years. I think we got one. We needed this level of shooter. And a guy who you don't feel like you are making compromises when he is on the court. And that is the difference between him and Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier, I feel bad because his one season where he really got a chance, he really got like the full, like what he could handle in terms of being a big time offensive piece on the team. The reason I feel badly is because for much of that season, he shared a backcourt with Kemba Walker, and a Kemba Fournier backcourt was never going to work. Would it have worked better? Would it have looked better if it was him and, let's say, a guy like Immanuel Quickley? Now, was Immanuel Quickley ready to be a starting point guard at that time? Probably not. Even so, Fournier, and that's the thing, is it wasn't just the defense, right? Like Fournier has always been throughout his career a put some on the table, take some off the table kind of guy. And more than that, I think there was an inconsistency where, like, I don't know. I feel like he's much more of an up and down player than DiVincenzo. Maybe that's just my perception because the team, like, it's just this is a good team and that team was a bad team. But that's the key. We needed this level of shooter who you didn't have to make compromises to keep on the floor, and they got one. Thanks, Will. Busy. Think we got deuce shooters. This maybe went over my head. So I got the deuce. I think we got deuce shooters. Deuce shooters. Like, I know Deuce he didn't shoot well tonight, but Deuce is a shooter. In reference to Will's last comment. Oh, like two shooters. Oh, Deuce 2. I get it. Yeah. Again, I'm slow on the uptake. The reason I didn't go right to there, for what it's worth, I love what Deuce McBride has done from behind the arc this year. He's not in the same. He's not in the same book as Dante DiVincenzo as a shooter. Like, maybe he will be someday. I would love to see it, but he's not there.
Why do you hate Deuce McBride?
I don't know. I don't know. And I say that knowing Deuce McBride better shooting percentage from deep this year than DiVincenzo. I am fully aware of that fact. Don't get me wrong.
Genuinely hilarious that you read a stat while Busy's comment is on the screen.
Oh, because he hates stats?
He hates stats.
He hates stats. And I'm not even going to sit here and be like, oh, well, those are different degrees of difficulty. Because the degrees of difficulty on some of these Deuce shots, man, have been, like, legit. So, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say he's not in he shouldn't be in the same conversation as Devo. But, like, there is a comfort level with which DiVincenzo fires away that I think is just, and I do think there is a significant difference in terms of the degree of difficulty. I think there are ways, like, you can't guard them the same way. Like, you can't give DiVincenzo space ever at any point in time. Deuce, like, you could give him space and challenge him a little bit, but yeah. They're both really good, though. Justin Richards, hashtag you trying. Oh, man, you trying to get the pipe. Yeah, you trying to get the pipe. That comment will always live in my heart. You are indeed trying to get the pipe, JR. Or someone was trying to get the pipe from you. That's as it were. Bernard Richardson. I'm afraid future players won't want to sign with us because we'll put them in a position to outplay their contracts within the first 6 months. Fire everyone, probably. Can't keep this nonsense up. He is underpaid, man. DiVincenzo's underpaid. Deuce is underpaid. Brunson is underpaid. All of these guys are woefully underpaid. Hardenstein, the only saving grace with Hardenstein is he only signed for 2 years. Boy, do we wish we had Hardenstein on a third year of his contract. You know, it's been wild. And look, they'll pay the piper when the time comes. Like, that's not going to be an issue. They will pay. But they have to finish getting their ducks in order before they go into apron land. Because once they go into apron land, things get much tougher from a team building standpoint. So that's why this summer is going to be a very important summer for the Knicks. Thanks, Bernard. Zach Carr, what's going on, Zach? Dante trying to break the record with him in there. I think you mean with Evan in there, probably. We should say, by the way, I should have said this at the top. DiVincenzo is now, I want to say he is 8 away from the record. Let's see if I got that correct. Season leaders. Thank God for Basketball Reference. 3-point field goals. No, he got 10 tonight. So he's at, or 11 tonight, excuse me. So he's at 234. So he is 7 away from tying, 8 away from passing DiVincenzo's all-time record. I mean, I would, at this point, I'd bet on him doing it on the road trip. You know? 8 threes to break the record at this point? Like, right? He's probably going to do it on the road trip. If not, maybe at home against Oklahoma City. We'll see. Thanks, Zach. Maple Maxo. What's going on, Maple Maxo? Can Brunson, Devo, Deuce lineup survive in the playoffs? If healthy, will we even see those lineups? My favorite question of the night. I think it depends on the opponent. I think against certain playoff opponents, you probably can. Others you probably can't. Like Orlando comes to mind immediately. They have a lot of size that they could throw at you. Like, they have freaking lineups where, like, the smallest, like, you know, they have Franz at shooting guard. You know, like that would be hard. Boston is the other very obvious one. Like, Boston, they will. I mean, God, they will hunt you. And I'm as it is, I'm kind of worried about, like, will they, with Brunson and DiVincenzo in the game together, will they try to exploit that small backcourt, to say nothing of Deuce? And again, Deuce is great defensively, point of attack, guarding the other team's point guard, the whole thing. He's not a large man. And, you know, unlike your prime Kyle Lowry, unlike, you know, even you want to throw, you know, Van Vliet into this conversation, unlike Caruso. What is Caruso? Is Caruso 6'5", 6'4"? I don't know what he is, but he's, you know, he's whatever. He's on the smallish side. You know, throw Marcus Smart in there. Like, there are certain guys who are, like, quote unquote short, but are pretty much switch proof. McBride, I don't quite put McBride into that category because he just he just lacks that level of size. So I think that's what makes it tough when you throw in the Brunson and Devo. The one that I'm struggling with is, like, will we see those lineups? I just don't know if they're fully healthy, would Tibbs ever have a reason to play them? My biggest question for the play, one of my biggest, I have a lot of questions. One of my questions for the playoffs is, are we going to see Brunson and McBride minutes together in the playoffs? Because if he's so, like, we know what the top 7 is. The top 7, if they're all healthy, is the starting 5: Mitch and Josh Hart off the bench. He's got to play at least 8 guys, right? He's got to play at least 8 guys. So is the 8th man on the team going to be Precious, or is the 8th man on the team going to be Deuce? Again, I think, or maybe I don't want to rule out yet. Maybe it's Bogey. Maybe it's Burks. At this point, I think the leaders in the clubhouse are Deuce and Precious. Let's just, for argument's sake, say it's the 2 of them. If it's Deuce because he wants the spacing, do the Deuce minutes, if he's the 8th man, necessarily need to come with Brunson off the court? Or is he going to say, okay, for as wonderfully as a year as he had as he has had as a shooter, Deuce is still my quote unquote weakest offensive player of all of those perimeter options. Let me pair him with Brunson, and then in the non-Brunson minutes, I will go in a different direction. So then what would that direction be? It would be, I guess, the other starters, or DiVincenzo and essentially Hart, right? So DiVincenzo, Hart, OG, Julius, and then pick a center, and you're basically running without a point guard, which, again, like, I know it's not a look that they've gone to just because they've never had a reason to go to it. I don't think that's crazy. So I guess in that alignment, maybe you do get some overlap, although I would guess you'd probably, McBride would be the sub for DiVincenzo if you're going to pair him with Brunson. So if you're asking me right now, would I bet on us seeing any of those minutes in the playoffs, assuming we're fully healthy? I would bet no, but I also wouldn't rule it out. And it's matchup dependent. Thanks, Maple Moxo. Steven Peoples, what's going on, Steven? Question hypothetical. If OG and Mitch come back in the regular season, but Randall doesn't come back till the second round of the playoffs, will the Knicks be able to advance? I think so. How about you? So I think this question is basically, can the Knicks get out of the first round without Randall? I do. I'm trying to think of, like, what opponent in the first round they would miss Randall the most. You know what my answer might be? I think they would beat this team without Randall. I think my answer might be the Magic. And I think my answer might be the Magic without thinking about it too deeply, because the Magic are obviously, goes without saying, the least threatening team in terms of their shooting. So, like, what Randall gives back on the defensive end in terms of, like, maybe he doesn't, missing a closeout or a rotation or whatever, like, I feel like it hurts you the least against Orlando. And Orlando is such a big, physical, tough, nasty team. If you inject Randall into that, and I know he hasn't always had great games against Orlando, I think for as big as they are, I think Randall could bully them. I think Randall could have his way. If he's right, if he's Julius, like, for real, I think he could have his way against that team. And then that'll just set everything else up. So I think they would miss him the most against Orlando. And then, but the flip side of that coin is, like, you could conceivably make an argument that is there a matchup out there where they would be, like, not better without Julius in the first round, but with OG, or, like, closer to even? Probably could. Just like, you think about the Pacers and, like, okay, well, do you want to go all defense against the best or second best offense in the league? I don't know. Like, they're going to put up points on you, so you got to be willing to run in a track meet. I would rather, this is my short answer. I'd rather have Randall back for any playoff matchup without question. I do think that there are probably some matchups in which his presence would be more necessary than others. I'd say that. Thanks, Steven. Moscow Drug Mule, great name. I was at the game tonight. Awesome. One seat back from the first row. Jalen is amazing. Dante was incredible, and I even got to say hi to Taj. Hey, that's awesome news. Cool. I felt bad Taj didn't play tonight. He's on the injured list. Deuce played well. Fournier complained a ton. Go Knicks. Yeah. Evan Fournier. I feel bad. Evan gets the short end of the stick. There have been many a Knick that have come through this franchise, in particular, since like circa 2001, that deserve to get lambasted every time their name is brought up. Evan Fournier is not one of those guys. I know he made a lot of money here, and they signed him, and he didn't live up to expectations, but like came in, acted like a pro, like, and the thing we'll always go back to, if you watched his first year with the Knicks and you were like, what the hell is this? That's exactly what he has always been in his career. What they got his first year is what he has always been. So it's like they got what they paid for. It just wasn't a great fit. So, but I feel bad for Evan. Evan seems like a good dude. Busy with another one. Thought exercise. If Brunson missed this many games instead of Julius, what would our record be? P.S. Let's all compliment GMAC on the haircut.
Thank you, Busy. And thank you, everyone. Shout out to, I believe his name was Scott, who on the watch along said I looked like a proud boy, but I think I look good. Really nice haircut. And as I was saying on the watch along too, I've had this for a little bit, and it was just I like to wear our KFS hats. So all of you can go to the merch store and buy. So yeah, and John's deep in thought about the thought experiment. How many games was it?
Well, it's been 23 games since Julius went out. What I'm wondering, or what I'm off the top of my head, so we're also assuming no OG, right?
So that's Busy. Just put in the chat. I'll read. Are you also saying like everything else happens? Like
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what he's saying.
No OG Anunoby. Hartenstein gets hurt. The what's it called? The trade is made for Burks and Bogey. Like, are you assuming everything else happening?
We're assuming Julius goes out after 47 seconds in the Cavs game.
Yeah, so he literally follows the same Brunson path.
I'm just looking at Brunson missed games since the Julius injury. So it's been, he missed the Dallas game, he missed the Pelicans game, he missed the Hawks game. They lost all three of those games, and the Cleveland game was effectively a missed game. So let's go 1-3. So they're 20. They're, what are they? 14-11. Whatever. They're 3 games over 500 in the games that Jalen has in all the games. So they're give them another. So they're effectively 5 games over 500 in the games that Jalen has played. Right? They're 5 over 500 in the games Jalen has played since the injury. Correct?
Yes, sure.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Over a stretch of 25 games or 20 games because we're taking away the Brunson, or 20, whatever, 2 games, 1 games.
I have my answer.
Hold on. I want to give a. I think they'd be under 500.
As do I.
Man. The tough part is like, when do you need Brunson the most? You need him as a closer, right? They haven't had many close games, but then it's like flipped out on its head. It's like, well, how many more close games would they have had if Brunson wasn't there to begin with? And who's closing those games? Who do you feel confident with to close those games? And also, one other thing I have to throw in here. Who's been such a big part of their success?
It's Precious. Precious Achiuwa.
Precious Achiuwa.
I'm going a different direction.
If Julius is there, Precious is not probably getting, like, we're not seeing this Precious emergence. And look, the Precious starting 5 lineups were death to spacing, but like they also worked because of like the offensive rebounding and the whole thing. Now, you'd still get the offensive rebounding with Randall plus what Randall gives on offense, but like you're not getting Brunson in those lineups. You have Deuce now. But at the same time, Deuce has been awesome. It's a really great question, Busy. I'll say gut feeling without really going game by game, which I would do if I had more time. Maybe they're just under 500. Something like that. That's what I would say.
You said they're 14. So they're 14-11 since the injury, right?
But again, Brunson has effectively missed 4 of those games.
Right. I'll say Julius misses 4 of those games. I'll say 11-14. Like, I'll just flip it. Like, we saw him on a 4 seed a couple years ago, but it was like when Derrick Rose was out, they were a 500 team or a little bit worse than a 500 team. Then they got Derrick Rose, and I don't think they're a play-in team during the stretch. They might be hovering around. I guess no. If they're 3 wins worse, then they're probably around a play-in team.
That's exactly what they are. They're a play-in team.
I guess I don't look at them as in the Chicago. They don't fall to the Chicago, Atlanta portion of the bracket. I think they're much more of a race for the 5 seed with Miami, the Pacers, and Philadelphia.
I think we'd be looking up at Indy.
I think. Well, don't the Pacers have the same amount of wins? 40.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that's literally what I'm saying. To be 3 games worse, they're 3 games ahead of the Pacers.
I mean, it'd be nip and tuck here in terms of like, would we get in the top 6?
Which is what I'm saying. It'd be
You're right.
from 5. I don't think we'd be looking up at the Pacers. I think we'd be looking right next to us with the Sixers and the Heat, because I don't think the Pacers are anywhere near as good as you think they are, but I think they're as good as the Knicks would have been if without Brunson they had Julius Randle.
Well, I'm watching them just take the lead against the Clippers in LA right now. So.
That may be a Clippers issue since they just lost to the Sixers yesterday.
It is a Clippers issue. But anyway, what else we got?
They got 2 more.
Okay, here, stay on. Then we'll do the scoreboard. Hey, our man Robert W. Cross, the one and only, very generous. Thank you, Robert. First time, long time. It's your boy John. I will go back on the record and note my discomfort with the Nova Knicks. I can't tell if he's being facetious. Also, I don't want Mikal
He's a UConn
Bridges.
fan. That's why he's good discomfort with the Nova Knicks.
Oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea. Also, I don't want Mikal Bridges here, nor do I want to read another Kevin Danishevsky tweet about it. Hashtag Let's Go Knicks. Hashtag Haul In. And then hashtag 53 wins is still in play.
My mistake. That is Fuddy, who's a UConn fan. I believe that Haul In is a Seton Hall reference.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Big East loyalty.
I don't look. I refuse to have a serious discussion, like a very serious discussion about the Mikal thing, because it's just never going to happen. I think it's an interesting thought exercise. I know you're kidding about the Nova Knicks. They're awesome, and it's a lot of fun to have them here. And 53 wins, I guess, still is in play. Oh, here we go. Robert Cross, another one. Legend of GMAC is goddamn stud with the cut. Respect.
Thank you, Robert. They have to win out to get to 53 wins, right?
Will they really?
53 wins is 29 losses, so they can lose 1 more game.
Yes, I guess technically that is still in play.
I was going to ask you, 50 is like 8-4 the rest of the way.
So,
excuse me, 7-4 the rest of the way.
I've done the math many times, or I've looked at all the respective schedules many times. I think. So what are they? How many wins they have right now?
43. They're 43-28. They have 11 games left.
I think 48 wins will be enough to get a top 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think they can get to 50? Yeah, they could get to 50. Sure, they could get to 50. Absolutely. Obviously, they could get to 50. I don't know. I think they're going to have to win the next 2.
Go a long way toward that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, they should look. They should win. Look, they got 2 out of the way, right? So now the with each additional win over one of these crappy teams, the chances of dropping a game against one of the 4 crappy teams goes down. So now you have to win 4, and now you only got to win 2. So that's a lot more manageable, right?
Math.
I'm like, Why did Wemby sit tonight? Is that just like a rest day or like what?
I'm assuming a rest day.
Okay.
It worked. They won.
I'll say this. It is the ultimate sign of respect for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, what I'm about to say. I hope they don't play in 2 days. Because I think I don't want to see them.
That'll be an emotional night too. Which, bigger than basketball, but
Yeah.
Raptors losers of 11 straight games. For those who missed the update, they are back with the team. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly after dealing with personal tragedies. No word on whether they're going to play. I'm talking to Esbar Heaney tomorrow about the situation, so maybe we'll get some clarity on that then. But yeah, the Raptors have had a lot go on with the DeJounte what's his name again? Jonte Porter. Yeah. With that news that came out today, for those who don't know, a Raptor player is being investigated by the NBA for illegal betting, prop betting, and potentially some point shaving. So with some prop bets that he may have cast. So it's not just Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, allegedly. It's also allegedly someone on the Toronto Raptors. So there's one more super chat, by the way.
Okay. What do we got?
Mark's got it. Then we'll go to the out-of-town scoreboard.
And then out-of-town scoreboard. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. This is fun postgame. Fun postgame.
1,400 still watching live between Twitter and YouTube.
No, Mark says that's it. Okay, great.
Oh, no, I threw one in. I got it here.
Oh, Robert Cross, legend of GMAC. Can we get KFS bats if we play Miami in the first round? Just wondering. That's like a Simpsons episode. I don't think we're going that route.
No, that is my answer, Robert. All right, let's go out of town. This is again, shout out to our friends at T Squared Social. So Daniel checked out the segment and he enjoyed it. Daniel's our contact over at T Squared Social, and he loved it and wants just everybody to be reminded. You could go there, watch Knicks games. You can watch every out-of-town game as well. So they could put League Pass up on the screens. You could have watched the end of all the games we're about to recap if you wanted to, as well as the New York Rangers, who are in the heated race for the President's Trophy, or MLB opening day, or March Madness, you name it. Shout out to the fine folks at T Squared Social. Get a free draft beer when you tell them that KFS sent you. Go ahead, read the out-of-town scores, sir.
And I would just say, running a good sports bar and having a good sports bar in the city is hard. They do a fantastic job. As someone who used to attempt to do this myself in a past life, you will not find a better and more enjoyable place to watch any game. Okay, so let's go through from the top the East Coast scores. So Cavs, the most relevant out-of-town score for the Knicks tonight, kicked the crap out of the Hornets. Hawks came back from 30 down in the first half to defeat the Celtics, and yes, the Celtics had quite a lot of their guys in that one. I'll be curious to go search for the post-game quotes on that. Nets beat the Raptors. Raptors lost 11 straight. Wizards break up the freaking Wizards.
What?
Beat the Bulls 107-105. They have won 3 straight to get to 14-58. How about them Wizards? In fairness, the Bulls, I don't think really need the game because I think they're pretty secure in ninth. Although Hawks win, Bulls lose. I don't know, maybe not. Rockets have now won 10 straight games. They beat the Portland Trailblazers. It was a close game for a bit. 9 straight. I misspoke before. 9 straight games. But they, I think, now move a game back of the Warriors for a 10th. Maybe if you want to double check that, Andrew. The Spurs beat the Victor Wembanyama the Spurs without Victor Wembanyama beat the Suns, who had all of their guys. Must be great to be a Suns fan right now. 104-102. Nuggets kicked the crap out of the Grizzlies. The Mavericks pulled it out against the Jazz in the what is becoming a very interesting race for the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Speaking of that race, the Kings are involved right now in a game against the Sixers. They're up 14 in the third quarter as the Kings try to keep pace with Dallas. Really damaging loss for Phoenix in that game. That's unbelievable. And then in a game that has certainly relevance to the Knicks, the Pacers have a 65-62 halftime lead against the Clippers in L.A.
two things. One, the Rockets are a half game behind. One in the loss column.
Half game, my
Yep.
God.
So one in the loss column behind the Golden State Warriors. And then the other thing, the Washington Wizards, 5-6 in their last 11. Next two games, I believe it's the Raptors. No, they play. Who is their next two games? Who did I just?
I'll just say real quick, Golden State, their next game, they have a back-to-back. They are in Miami tomorrow night, Tuesday night, and then they are in Orlando.
Yep.
On Wednesday night. So like, we could be looking up. Meanwhile, Houston's next game, if you're interested, that now is the tough part of their schedule. They go to Oklahoma City on Wednesday. So, man, that I kind of look. I will never root for the Heat, but like, if the Heat beat Golden State tomorrow night and we wake up on Wednesday and those two teams are tied for 10th, that would be something else.
Yes. The next two games for the Wizards are the little brother, the Brooklyn Nets at home, and then a tank off.
They play Detroit.
The Detroit Pistons on Friday nights, going for the 1 seed.
There it is.
But they might go into that game winners of 4 straight and 6 of their last 12.
That's freaking wild.
Yeah.
Okay, great night. Congrats again to the Knicks for getting the win. Congrats to Dante DiVincenzo. Amazing stuff. And this,
I'm telling Mark, go ahead. You put the banner up. I'm sorry, I'm overproducing while he's also trying to work. Okay, bye everybody. Thanks for the compliments about my haircut. John, you take it away.
And yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget, if you dig the show or you appreciate anything we do, I saw this very nice comment from someone on the podcast that I got in an email today. We like those comments, and they help us out. So leave a comment, leave a 5-star rating. Certainly subscribe to this channel. We just went over 15,000 subscribers the other day. Let's keep getting it up. And we will be back with more fun and games before you know it. Wednesday, Raptors. Friday, Spurs. I mean, we're in the freaking home stretch here. With 11 games left in the season. Let's go. Playing well at the right time. So that's good. All right. Talk to everybody later. Peace out.